Hey guys, and welcome to Terra Invicta. Starting a new game as Humanity First. We will not be changing any of the settings. Be difficulty of normal, which most people are going to play as, so be a good video to show y'all how the game actually works. We just had a new update, 0.4.78, which has drastically changed the game. So I figured I would start a playthrough just to show the average player what the game's all about. So, like I said, Humanity First. And if you wanted to, you could change all of these things here. We're going to be leaving our counselors as defaults. On normal, if you change and pre-select your counselors, it does give a boost to the AI factions. So we're just going to leave it as is, and we're going to start a long campaign. The long campaigns are the normal campaigns. The accelerated campaigns are, they change up the game, things go a little bit faster, you get more mining output, your research speed is faster, AI ramps up faster, the aliens ramp up faster, things like that. So I always put mine to 5 speed, because nothing happens in between the rounds, which is when the time actually starts. And so you could sit on 2 speed and just watch the world turn normally, or you could put on 5 speed and it goes so much faster. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at our counselors. We have a scientist, which is alright, better in the late game to be honest, but the extra science is pretty good. And then a spy, which is also decent. We would have preferred something with persuasion checks. High persuasion is key in the early game, but oh well. We have social scientist, gives a boost to our science, monthly income, as well as to social science research, which we'll get into a little bit. Expert, another increase to our science monthly income, as well as our influence monthly income, and I'll explain that in a moment as well. But it has a bunch of these debuffs, as you can see. So a -1 to espionage when detected, +1 persuasion, +1 science, -1 security. And we'll get to the stats in a bit. Brazen, more monthly income, higher persuasion when that's the knowledge of a country, and we'll get to that in a second as well, but -1 security. And affluent is a monthly income. Next we'll be looking at the monthly incomes here. So this counselor will be donating, or I guess, contributing 1 money, 4.1 influence, and 10.8 research per month. And that research is key in the beginning because it's so much easier to get these small attacks out of the way that you have to do. His attributes: 3 persuasion, 6 investigation, 0 espionage and command, 5 admin, 8 science, 1 security, and an apparent loyalty of 10. Apparent loyalty doesn't do anything. What you want to do is investigate your counselor and find out their actual loyalty. If you look over here at their missions, his missions are kind of crap, to be honest. He has advise, which is the only thing you would really be using him for, which is why you want him late game, because it buffs countries that you control. He has investigate alien activity, which is great, but as you can see, 2 counselors have that, so it means both of them do. Both of them have control nation and control space asset, which requires the persuasion 4, which is why you want a high persuasion, because if you don't have a high persuasion, your chances of capturing and controlling a nation are very low. For espionage, he's going to have sabotage project and steal project, which you have to have investigated counselors for to have those. And then his common ones, he has all the common ones. He can set national policy, not important until you have consolidated control. We'll get that in a second. He can go to ground, which means that he hides. So if enemy counselors have detected him, he can go to ground, drop off the radar, not be seen. He can do contact, which means you reach out to the other AI faction counselors and do trade deals with them. Then he has orbit and deorbit, which means you can go up to stations, and then transfer, which you can transfer from one station to another. If you look over here, these are what it costs. So advise costs influence to do, 10 of it. Investigate alien activity costs 5 ops, which is what these ones are. We don't have any income over that yet. So does espionage. These ones don't cost it for the base. If you want to increase your chance of rolling well, they will increase it. So control nation we could run at probably a 9%, we'll just give that number. If you increase how much influence you put into it, you'll increase your success chance. So it could be up most likely to like a 60% at the beginning of the game. But there's text that'll increase it even further. Set national policy is also going to take a base 10 influence to do, same as contact. And then orbit will vary depending on what orbit level you go to. Next here, you can see all of the attributes. Each counselor can have a max of 25 attributes in these 7 attribute slots. Once you get to that, you can't add any more. The standard is 20 XP to increase them. They also have extra things depending on what they are. So Darren here is a scientist, and he has social scientist, which means that he can upgrade his social scientist into a senior social scientist, which increases your monthly income, gives you an extra science, and increases the bonus to social science research. He also has all of the standard ones: connected, eminence, opinion leader, government, which is pretty good because some some organizations over here require government to even be put on. National hero is pretty good, +3 persuasion in his home nation. I believe he's from America as well. Streetwise gives you a bonus to not being found and to security. So the only thing we can get right now is survivor, which is +1 security, and not super important. We're probably going to be keeping him down, so it'll be hard to for the enemy counselors to kill him. And if not, we can just drop him off the radar and it'll be fine. Ingrid here is from United Kingdom, which looks to be not important for her counselor traits. These will matter if you have something like Streetwise, which gives a +1 security and investigation in their home nation. There's other ones that, like, you can't go into nations that have rivaled your home nation, or you can't go into your home nation. That's why that's important there. She has Undercover, which means that she can access Tier 1 enemy HABs and ships, which is super helpful in the early game. +1 Espionage. Aware, +1 Investigation. Low Profile is +2 to Espionage. Government means that she can take orgs that require government. Hard Target means that if she's attacked and it's a critical failure, then she will kill them, which is important for later on whenever we start meeting the alien faction, but I'm not going to spoil that quite yet. She also gets a +1 to Espionage when being detected by other counselors. That does not mean a +1 Espionage all the time. She can still be found easily, that whenever they roll to detect more information on her, she will get a +1 boost. She also gets +2 Security. She has the Suspicious trait, which gives her a whole slew of things. So +1 to Investigation when detecting other counselors, +1 to Espionage when being detected, +2 Investigation, +2 Security, +1 Espionage, but a -2 to Apparent Loyalty. And she cannot do the Inspire mission, which is very important. Chexist means that she gets gives the faction a +5 oppression priority to our control points. We'll get to that in a second as well. She has no incomes, monthly incomes. She has a +6 Persuasion, an 8 Investigation, 8 Espionage, 3 Command, 2 Administration, 0 Science, and 8 Security. Again, apparent loyalty is not super important. Actual loyalty is. She has a much better slew of missions. She is going to be our investigation and killer. She can do surveil location, also can do investigate, she can control nation, she can do public campaigns, which is what she's going to be doing at the beginning of the game, because that's how public campaigns increase your public opinion in a nation, and that will increase your odds of controlling the nation. She can turn an enemy counselor, which is going to be nice, but that's not going to be her primary thing, so persuasion is not going to get super high, it's not super important. She can also control space asset. She can investigate counselors, this is going to be crucial. You can't find enemy counselors, you can't do anything about them. Same with alien counselors. She can do a crackdown mission, which means that you put a malice onto enemies' control points, makes them easier to purge and take over. She can also purge enemy control points. She can sabotage facilities, which is space facilities, which means that it'll hurt nations' boost gain, as well as could also be their mission control. So these two here, it will damage. She can sabotage HAB modules, which means she has to be in space for that. She can assassinate enemy counselors. She can sabotage projects and steal projects like before. And she does not have reduce unrest, which is kind of annoying, but her command's only 3, not super important. But she can coup, which means that you get rid of all of the control points in a nation, and then whoever has done the most increase unrest will get those control points, as opposed to doing a purge, which you only do it one at a time, but you're guaranteed to get it for your faction. She can increase unrest, which goes hand in hand with the coup. She can extract a counselor, which means that if an enemy organization faction has done a detain counselor mission, she can do an extract counselor mission instead of having to wait 2 turns, I believe, as well as have all your orgs stripped away. Then she can get them right back into the action. And then she also has the standard 6 common missions. And these will change. Some of the counselors have a Earth-bound trait over here, which means that they cannot go into space, so they can't do deorbit transfer, and in her case she would not be able to do sabotage habitat modules. But she does have 40 XP, which is nice. Iron Hand is going to replace Checklist, and it'll going to increase the oppression bonus to plus 10% from plus 5, but we're going to give her a Persuasion and an Investigation. We talked about orgs a little bit earlier. These are your orgs. You're going to get a certain amount of them every month. I want to say it updates in the middle of the month. I'm not entirely sure. It might just be due to a research I had done before. But you're going to buy these for whatever the price is. So this one costs 113 money. We have 200 of it at the moment, and we gain 0.03 per day, or 1.1 per month. You can change that in the settings to show your per month income, but I prefer per day. So it costs 113 of that, and it would give a +1 science, plus 12 monthly income of research, and a -1 monthly income of money to the counselor you buy it for. You can also buy it for a counselor and then go and unassign it from the counselor, and it'll go into your unassigned orgs. You can only have a certain amount of unassigned orgs, but this does mean that you don't have to have it on a counselor because they have a certain amount of organization capacity, which is dependent on how much administration they have, and a total number of orgs allowed. So you cannot increase this. The max you can ever have is 15 organizations, but once you get further on, you'll get a bunch of 2-star or 3-star, which is the capacity of these. So this takes up 2 organization capacity per for this one org, and they give a better bonus. So this one here costs 51. It's a +1 to your science score and +19 to your monthly research. Also gives a +2% to the pips in the funding, and +5% to your all space science research. So these aren't super helpful at the moment. We could give a couple to Derek, but not, like I said, not super important. Another important thing in the 0.4 update is the hostile takeover defense. In previous versions of the game, you attacked the counselor to take their organizations away. Now you attack the organization individually, which I think is super cool, but way more annoying. So if you were to buy this, it's headquartered in the Seoul region of South Korea. So if you wanted to take this from them, you had to go to South Korea, which the counselors automatically don't worry about that, and take it that way. But we have 50 influence, which is your starting influence, unless you went in and changed the settings to where you only started with one counselor. Then you get +30, so you start with 80, but then you would just spend it anyways on buying a new counselor. But anyhow, with this we can hire or convince another counselor to join us. They all have a certain cost. This one has 120. Typically they're better, not always, but typically. This one's 60, so we can only do these 30 ones, and it looks like we can only pick up Masuda Salim from Bangladesh, and I probably butchered that. So important things to look at for hiring counselors is obviously their attributes. She's pretty good, she's well-rounded, but the big thing to look at with their attributes is their missions. So she has a high persuasion, high command, high for starting off. It's actually quite bad. But for starting, it's not bad. But if you look at here, she has a lot of espionage and a lot of command missions. And nothing that we don't already have. So while having an extra counselor is better than having not, there's no reason to. It would cost 30 influence that we only make 0.62 per day, or 19 a month. So it would take us 2 months, more than 2 months, to recoup the loss of hiring this counselor, and there's not really a good reason to. She doesn't have a decrease or reduce unrest, which is what we'd be looking for a command. She doesn't have anything that our other counselor can't do. Protect target is not super vital at the moment. Sociopath is pretty bad. The +1 persuasion is not worth the -3 loyalty, nor is it worth the lockout of certain orgs, because certain orgs say that they cannot have the sociopath trait. She also has a loss averse, which is annoying, which is a -1 loyalty for every crude hab that gets destroyed, which isn't a problem right now, but when we go into the space, it will be. Firebrand is okay, but it's only good for countries that have low education and low equality. So the ones that we're going to be doing a lot are going to have high education and high education and low inequality, which is better for everything. So we're going to be running towards that. So in a later game, she's not super good. Plus she gets a -3 to espionage, to being detected by other counselors, which means she's easier to find, which means easier to get information on, and easier to kill. So not super good. So we're going to hold off. We're going to get a couple events that'll give us a lot of influence. We're going to hold out and try and get Omar Gordon. He doesn't have the Control Nation, which is very annoying for having 8 persuasion. Not a whole lot of missions, but you can always add missions on. There are a ton of Control Nation orgs, like orgs that give Control Nation, so I don't have to worry about that. He also has Stabilized Nation. His command is only 1, but you can bump that up, and it'd be so much better for having that. Because enemy counselors love bumping up and your unrest, which makes it hard to control the nation. So we're going to be saving up for him. He also has Quick Learner, which reduces the amount of XP required to give him an augment. So while it would take 20 XP for a normal counselor to increase the attribute by 1, he'll only take 16. And it's even better when you get to some of the other more expensive ones. Let's see if we can look at one of those. National Hero, or Government Action. Yeah, National Hero costs 30 XP. His will take, I think 24 is how that math works out. Which it means it takes 6 less successful missions for him to get to that. Each successful mission gives the counselor 2 XP, a failed mission gives them 1, and an aborted mission gives them 0 XP. Or the Senior Scientist costs 40 for this one. It would cost 32, I believe, for him. I'm doing the math in my head, so if I'm wrong, I apologize. But again, we're going to save up for Omar Gordon to help us get into the other ones. Alexei is pretty good too. He also has Quick Learners -20%. Lobbyist is alright. Funding is pretty good. He gets Ethical, which is going to be annoying because atrocities are rather easy to commit. You don't realize you're doing it half the time. Unifier is also pretty good. Persuasion when it's above 6. That's the cohesion, is what that symbol is. So when cohesion is above 6, he gets +2 persuasion. He's also from Russia, which is alright. He also has our Control Nations, Public Campaigns, and Stabilized Nation. So actually, we're going to be going for Alexei first. And then if we get the chance, we can also go for Omar. Because Omar has Demanding, which is annoying. Because sometimes you do roll critical failures, especially in that early game, and a -1 loyalty to that. When he has a 2 to begin with, isn't great. But that's because of Cynic. I believe it's not actually. Okay, I'm wrong. Opinion Leader is okay. Quick Learner is the best. Suspicious is kind of okay. Not super helpful for what he's going to be doing. And an important thing to point out is this word right here. This is what they are. So depending on what they have is going to depend on their upgrades. So we have a Scientist here, which is why he has Social Scientist and Expert, which means that he has unlocked the Senior, and then the other one after that is Lead, I believe, but I can't quite remember. She has Spy, which means that hers is kind of locked out. You don't move up from Spy. There's nothing else to go with. That's another important thing to look at. Monthly Ledger, this is new with the 0.4 update. This is a nice breakdown of everyone's monthly incomes and malices. We don't have any of those right now, so we don't need to worry about that. Now that we've looked at this, we can go on and look at what we're going to be doing. So to select counselors, you can choose right here. If you double-click the counselor, you go to where they are. Down below, you can see all the missions they have. If it's lit up, you can do it. If it's grayed out. You can't, so we can't steal our project or contact anyone. We haven't met any of the other factions yet. But for Darren, we're going to have him do investigate alien activity. It's going to cost us 5 ops, and it's going to take 5 of this time frame. The lower number in this time frame, the faster the organization goes off. So this is going to be the very last ones that go off, usually. I don't know what is going to have that 6th one. I haven't seen them. I haven't actually been looking out for them. But we'll have him do that. It's in Vladivostok, Russia, so you're going to say investigate. He's going to fly over there by himself. He's got this checked out. And we're going to figure out what this UFO crash site is. I love the pictures they've done for these. They're so gorgeous. Also, each one here. So this will be what you're attacking with your sabotage facilities. And then they all have different things. So these all mean certain things. A resource region, so that affects how things work. The armies, and these will change depending on the grade of the army. So they have an army level of 3.9, which is the atomic age. So every 1, it's going to change the age. So they're nearly at a 4, which is I think modern. But it looks like a T-72, I believe. This one here is going to be a T-34 because they have an army level of industrial age of 2.8. This one is going to be an M1 Abrams. It looks like a Cobra in the back because they have an information age, not modern, sorry, information age of 4.2. Not crucial to know at the beginning, but just as people that are new, that's what that's looking at. Now with Miss Page here, we're going to be going for a North American play. This is my favorite. I usually do North America along with Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan has a starting off pretty good boost, which none of North America does except for US, and the US is hard to get into. So if we want to do public campaign in the US, we have a base 21% and a control nation of 0%. So to pump influence into that, we can put 32 into it out of our 50. We'll have a 1% chance of taking over this nation, which is abysmal. You want to aim for minimum of 70%. And even then, you're still going to be failing more often than not. It's kind of annoying. That's just my luck. You probably get different ones. But again, we'll do control nation up to a 72, which is only going to be 4 influence. We can double that to 8 for 78. And we'll do that. It's worth it to have this early one. We could also try and do a coup, which, like I said, will probably give us both of them because we are the one that initiated it, and no one has done an increase unrest, which is right here. We have an unrest of 4 right now, which is going to give us a bonus. So this is your bonus to it. We have a plus 8.6 at the moment. This is the malice to it. So this is what you're going up against. We have a minus 22.1, which the mission difficulty will always be the same, but these all will change. So the national cohesion will do a malice to it. The higher the cohesion means it's the harder to initiate a coup. Makes sense. A democracy score, the more democratic it is, the harder it is to do a coup. And then the size of the national economy. So this is how well people are doing. So if you have a better economy, people are more likely to not do a coup because they have enough money. They don't need to. And then on the other flip side, we have 3 command, which is going to, like, her skill in initiating a coup. Popular support, so how much they want to follow humanity first or a faction, which is a 0.4. National unrest, which is 4, which is just transferred 1 to 1. And then elite dissatisfaction, which is a 1.2. An elite dissatisfaction is both from public opinion as well as the spoils. So every country elite wants a certain amount of spoils or corruption dedicated to them. So Kazakhstan wants at least 33% of the investment points to go into the spoils. They have currently done 25%. So that's causing the elites or the super rich to not be very happy with them. But again, we're not going to do that because at 42% up to a 78% chance to just take it outright, which is just fine with us. We now have a 42 influence. We'll get 19 by the end of the month. The turn will not last 1 month. In the beginning of the game, the turns go super fast. I think it's about 1 week per turn. It will start slowing down because we have calmed back down, hysteria has died down, people aren't demanding action immediately. So it'll slow down, and then way later on in the game, I can't remember exactly how far, it'll once again slow down even further because the status quo has been initiated and you're kind of back to just normal. So now that we have all of our counselors doing stuff, we're going to hit confirm assignments, and I have it set up to where it will automatically go. You can do that from going into the settings, to gameplay. I have it set to where it will unpause after confirming the counselor missions and start the turn, just quality of life. I also have it to where it will open up the mission phase summary after the turn ends, which is helpful for knowing what happened. My system clock is wrong. I don't really know why it happens, why it's wrong, but just help with making sure I don't lose track of time, because you can sink hours into this game and not realize it. And then these are just quality of life. These come checked. This is an optimal one. You can show the monthly income, so you get 1 money per month, 19 influence per month, and then 43 research per month. I prefer per day. That's just personal. You can toggle all your controls, the audio levels, and the graphics. I had master volume set to 0 because I was listening to music while I play usually, but we'll put that up so you can actually hear what's going on. This game is actually voice acted. They will tell you that they're doing a mission. They will tell you how well they did on a mission once it gets to that time. And if you click on them, they'll say, "Hey, how you doing?" Stuff like that. So we'll bump that up a little bit further to 46, so you can hear them talk to you. Like so. And then, now that we have this, we'll move into research. You have 2 types of research: the global research that everyone contributes to, and humanity first engineering projects. This will obviously change for your faction. So we have humanity first, Exodus, the Academy. I can't remember their names, but they're the tech moguls, basically. The Initiative, that's what they are, the Initiative. They're like the secret cabal that everyone, or not everyone, but certain groups think runs the world. This is the Protectorate, the Resistance, and the Servants. So you can see here, no one has put any research into this one. They put 1 research into this because we've gone for like a single day. And once you reach this cap of here, so that's 250 for this one, 250, 500, don't worry, it will quickly increase. Then you will complete the tech, and whoever has completed or put the most into it gets to choose the next tech. They also get the bonuses for this tech earlier, which is crucial for certain things. And then down here you have your engineering projects, which you can eventually get 2 more, as it shows you here. And these only you can put into. You're not going to have the Resistance contribute to your engineering project. Doesn't make sense. You can go here and look at your project details. When we complete this one, we'll get 25 influence. I like having this going first. Influence is key in the early game. We can also do this here. So once you complete We Are Not Alone, we able to unlock the clandestine cells with a 100% unlock rate for your engineering project. That will allow you to have 1 more counselor. So instead of having 4, you can have 5. We currently have 2 because we didn't choose to purchase or recruit the one choice that we had. It will also remove the hold on these certain global techs here. So some of these have other requirements, so you might not get terrestrial military science until you've unlocked something else before. If you want to look at that, you go to tech tree, and you can look through the entire thing. So let's say we want to go here. What do we need for particle beams? If you right click on the particle beams, you can see you need all of these here for particle beams. So these 2 we can currently research in the global research check. These ones have some sort of requirement. So this requires advanced electromagnetism to even have the option of researching it. Then particle beams, and then particle beams is required for all of these techs here. So as you can see, this has 1 million, I believe. No, 100,000. I apologize. I can't read. 100,000 research to be put in until you can unlock this. So very, very late game. For record, we get 43 research per month. This would take us like a century to do. So that's the research tree. Well, that's not even half the research tree. These are global techs. If you want to see the full research tree, then you have to look at this monstrosity. It's so fat, it takes forever to load in. So we'll zoom out of this bad boy, and this is the full research tree of Terra Invicta. This shows you every global research. This shows you the engineering project. This one right here is an engineering project. Tells you unlock chance, so 100% on these, which is actually not true. I'm not entirely sure why it tells you that it is 100%. Oh, sorry, there's 100% chance to get this. These ones down here, down below, is going to be even lower. So these ones here, you do get a 100% chance of unlocking. They unlock later than some other ones, whatever. Down below, you have a less chance of getting these ones here. This is a 52% chance to even unlock it. So you may go the entire game without ever seeing Archeron-shaped nuclear torpedoes tech unlocked, which is kind of cool. Really changes up the playability, or replayability of these. Archives will show you everything that's already been researched. So you start off with these faction modifiers, which is nice. Also, a new change shows you what's affecting your faction specifically. So we get 5% boost to investment points in the boost priority. We can found platforms in space, and we calculates that our boost cost using an exhaust velocity of 4.4 kps. Kps is how fast your ships are going, basically. And a higher kps means it's easier to get out of Earth's gravity well, which means it costs less boost to move them around, which is not important right now, but it will be when we start designing ships and going out into space. This is going to be your HABs. We don't have any yet, so this is habitats in space. These are your ships constructions. We can't do that yet. We haven't unlocked anything. This is your intel screen. So these are the 6 factions. Holy cow, I can't count. 6 factions in the game. You can go here and you can disable certain things. So this means that we will not hear offers to improve relations between us, Humanity First, and the Protectorate. This one, the Protectorate counselors will not be able to contact us. We'll automatically deny them. I always have them open because sometimes they offer you stuff. A lot of times the offers that the AI give you are very one-sided. You have the aliens info. So far we only know about this crash site here in Vladivostok. This is the global. So this is your global public opinion. The more public opinion you have, the more passive influence you get. So we're getting 0.49 influence per day, solely from how many people like us. So the world data, we have nearly 8 billion people on Earth, 11 people in space. We start off with 2 habitats, one in the Academy and then one in the Initiative. And then this is how much it costs. If you want to sell your space resources down to Earth, that's how much it's going to cost you. This is the environment, so this will change over time. If you drop a bunch of nuclear bombs on your enemies, that's going to cause a nuclear winter, and it's going to change the global temperature. Global sea level will rise as you go along. There's certain texts that will reduce that amount, but we're not anywhere near that. And then here's individual pieces and parts of the atmosphere, which is super cool. These are the wars going on. So we have the Russia-Ukraine war. It's been going on for 1 day, because the game only has been going on for 1 day. The atrocities down here, super easy to commit atrocities. Some of them are, you kill a counselor that has the beloved trait, counts as an atrocity. You have a war going on, so like Russia versus Ukraine. If there is factions that owned those two, then you're going to have atrocity, or a chance for certain events to pop up that will just have atrocities in them. You can't do anything about them. Kind of annoying, but that's war. I mean, that's just realistic. And they'll count down here for what goes on. I believe atrocities slowly decay. I'm not entirely sure, but each atrocity does count against your public opinion globally. It's a malice to that. I think it's a one-time drop when it happens. Here's the solar system. These are the resources and the area where it is. This is how far away from the sun it is. So Narau is a Kuiper Belt dwarf planet. It's a Cubuano mining profile. I don't know what that means. I don't know anything about that. It's 46.17 astronomical units away from the center of the solar system. It's 580 kilometers in diameter. It can support 2 bases on the surface of, I guess, the dwarf planet. And and these are the roughly how much resources we think it's going to have. You can't know the exact until you survey it, and that's way later on. And this is the Earth launch window. So you want it to where it's at a 0%, which means that it doesn't cost extra boost to get to it. The green arrow going down means that you're approaching it. The red arrow going up means it's going farther away from the launch window. You can sort this by certain areas. So let's go Mercury. Obviously, only one thing in Mercury is terrestrial planet. You can see this supports 8 HAB cycles. If you want to go to, we'll go to Jupiter. You can see Jupiter and all of the moons or satellites of Jupiter, which is super easy because you can go and click on it. You can take you straight to Metis, and then from there, once you get the research, you can go and work on it. Again, not super important right now, but something that you'll need to know if you want to play the game. This is the transfer planner. This is solely once you start designing ships to know how much KPS, or sorry, delta V, which is the amount of boost that an individual ship has to get to certain points. So we'll go from, these are the 2 starting HABs, so we'll go from the International Space Station, and our final destination will be Luna, the moon. We'll go to actual, well, can't go to actual Luna, middle Luth orbit. You can insert how many milligauss of acceleration you have, how much delta V you have, and then I'll tell you how long it takes to get there. We're going to keep going on. We're actually going to play the game. Apologize for rambling for so long. And here is our first event. The base has 5 events per turn, and those are for everyone. So you might not even see an event, a random event rather, per per turn because someone else got them all. And each one will affect something different. So the UN Security Council has met to discuss the arrival. We can hope to put our name out there, let people know about us. So our chances are we can remain in the shadows, which we get 30 ops, which we have 0 income of, could be important or helpful. We can quietly steer support for us, so just like, hey, you know, there's this faction out here that wants to oppose the aliens. You should look more into them. You should vote for them, stuff like that. And that's going to give us 25 influence and 15 ops. Also gives us a small public opinion, and it gives information to our enemies about us. Or we can deliver a manifesto, so we can go out there ourselves and declare our intentions to the entire world. And that will give us 50 influence, a larger opinion boost, and a lot of information, like our counselors, how much income and stuff we have will be given to the enemies, the other AI factions. We're going to do quietly steer support because we want the influence. So we found the initiative. This is the guy in charge, Chairman Soren Van Wyck. Each event, so the events that happen usually have all the researchers have a stylized talking over them, as well as a quote from a certain leader. We're going to close that, so we're going to go back over here, and we're going to go to recruiting. We're going to look at our options again. So we liked Mr. Alexei. So we're going to pick up Alexei. Right, nothing has changed yet. Every so often, the candidates will change as well, but we like Mr. Alexei. So we're going to pick him up. Boom. He's now one of our counselors. He cannot do anything yet. We can augment him. So Power Broker is going to increase the boost to funding priority. We're going to do neither of these yet. They're not super important. Anxious only works whenever only affects you whenever a counselor of your faction is assassinated. We don't need that right now. We're not in a fear of that. So we're going to put both influence. Oh, we can do 3 because he has Quick Learner. I forgot about that. So minus 20% cost. So we can give him 3 persuasion ticks, which is going to be crucial towards getting the North American countries under our control. Now we can select our management team. We're going to go for officers and operators, or financiers and investors. Our monthly income is 1, so that would boost us a lot. But yeah, we'll do that. So now we're getting 0.36 per day. and money is crucial for getting your organizations. We finished off so Darren is done with his thing. He's still over here in Vladivostok, but we have looked further into the event. So we've completed the investigate the crash. We got 20 research, which will apply to every single research that we are invested in. So right now, that's only the audience research. That got a 20 boost of research to that, which make it be done faster. We're going to go for it. We're not alone because no one else is, so you might as well. The highlighted means that this faction is putting the most into it. We also get a 14% increase because it should be 15, but we're using 2 social science research slots, so it has a slight decrease. But that means we're putting 0.384 plus an extra 14% on top of that into us per day. Back to this, we're going to go back to Angrad. She is doing the Control Nation at an 80% chance to succeed, and hers was probably a 6-time pip event, which is why it's happening after the investigate the alien crash. It's also important to note that the higher percent chance of succeeding you have, the faster you're going to do it. So a 98% chance to succeed in a mission will go off before a 50% chance, which is important because I've seen a couple times where later on you can turn counselors and turn them into traitors for you. They'll be like a double agent, and then someone else will go and assassinate them. And because I turned them before the assassination mission went off, then it had a weird interaction there. So that's important to know. So we've detected an enemy counselor. We can go straight to that. So we don't know who this is, but their espionage is pretty low, so we were able to detect their actions over here in Africa. So we got our first faction-specific project. We're going to go to Open Research. We're going to change the project into Alien Signatures, change it to Category. I wish it would do this by default. This is going to break up all of our texts by category. So Social Science and then Xenology, those are going to be kept separate. If you do it by name, then it's going to be all the A's are together, all the C's are together. Or by cost, cheaper ones at the top, which will have it all jangled up. So we do Category, click the project. This will be done by the 31st of October, so the end of the month. So we've taken over control of Kazakhstan. Now we can choose priority templates. So I always go for high welfare, 2 pips on 1 pip on environment and 1 on economy, 2 on knowledge, 1 to government and unity, 0 to funding, and then 0 to everything else, except for space defenses. And this is going to be our saving template, so we'll save that and put it as default. Now whenever we do Control Nation and take over part of the nation, then it will automatically transfer to this priority template. And then later on, we're going to bump this down, increase our funding. So if you left click, it goes up by to the right, so up by 1. If you left click, it goes down. If you're at 0 and you right click, rather, it will go to 3. It's just easier things. We're going to go 3 pips to these 3. Once you've found the space program, this will disappear and only be boost and mission control. Obviously, you can't increase your boost or your mission control without a space program. We're going to have 2 pips on the military, and then put 2 back onto the exo fighter. And then we'll just name this thing Sustain. So this will be saved. We're going to apply this globally. And these are going to do different things. So economy is going to increase your per capita GDP as well as your nation's GDP. Welfare is going to lower the inequality, which isn't super important because Kazakhstan's already low. If you go and look at China, they have it moderate at 3.8, high 4.1, stuff like that. Environment will increase the sustainability of a nation. Higher sustainability means that you put out less greenhouse gases, which means you affect those numbers I showed you earlier on the global tab less. Knowledge increases the nation's education number. Government increases the government, of course. Pips into that increase it more towards democracy, which is better for things like research, but less good for things like your unrest. Unity will increase the public opinion. as well as the cohesion. The baseline, or the one you want to shoot for is 5. It's best for research output, but low cohesion is obviously very bad. Low cohesion will mean that your unrest will increase. High cohesion means that it's harder to do certain things. So China here has a cohesion of 7.9. And that's affected by certain things like inequality, per capita GDP, population number, how spread out is your population. Do you have any rivals or threats to your country that you can band your people around? Public opinion increases your cohesion, which means that if you have more of a certain type, so say I'm humanity first, but most of the public opinion is for the servants, I'm going to have a very big malice towards my cohesion for that, because the people of the country don't like my government. And then obviously the lower your government, the higher that's going to be. So middling, like, see if we can't find one. Authoritarian is pretty good. Autocratic, I believe, is 5, which is the middling, has a malice to it. And then the democracy, so democratic has an increase, I believe? Yes. No, actually, it does go down. So it has a slight malice to it. And obviously authoritarian has an increase to it because you're basically telling your government or your people how to act. Oppression is going to decrease the unrest, but also the democracy, and also reduces the cohesion if your democracy score is greater than 5, which is like using the police or the military to put down protests. Funding is going to be how much money, this one right here, your nation will give to you per month. So we're getting 0.2 from Kazakhstan. Here is because we're in the Eurasian Union, so Russia is stealing a lot of our stuff. So 1.7 money is going to Russia, not to us. And then 0.3 boost is going towards Russia, not to us. If we controlled Russia, we'd be getting it as well, but we don't control Russia yet. It's much harder to get into. Spoils, like I said, is the corruption, basically. That if you have points into spoils, it's going to give you money per month, because like you're basically stealing money from the country and putting it right into your faction's pocket. Not good if you want to actually use the nation, because spoils massively increases the inequality of the country. Boost and mission control are pretty self-explanatory. Boost is this number right here. It's getting stuff into orbit. Mission control is how well you can control this stuff once they get into orbit. So your habitats are going to have a mission control amount. The larger the habitat, the more mission control it's going to cost. And same with your ships. Your ships, we haven't gotten into yet because we don't have any yet, are going to have a base mission control cost as well. The military is how strong is your military. So we have a 3.3 miltech right now, which goes into how strong your military divisions are, or the armies rather, as well also how well does your militia fight. So militia isn't an actual icon like this army here is, but it's whenever someone takes over an area. So Russia is currently moving into Ukraine, but the militia is going to fight them. So right now, the 8th Guards Army is at a 54% combat strength because the militia, or just the civilians that are living there, are fighting back. And that's directly influenced by your military score. So Build Army will create a new army. And there's also another one called Build Navy, which you have to have an army for, and it will attach itself automatically to an army, which means it can go overseas. So this one right here, 8th Guards, does not have a navy attached to it, therefore it can't go over to Australia, for example. It can't get there, there's no way to. And it probably can't get very far either, because you have to have you have to be allies with a nation to move your armies through them, which makes sense. If you're not an ally with them, it's basically a declaration of war. So, this 8th Guards Army can't get to Turkey because there's no allies on the way to Turkey. However, the 1st Guards Tank Army can, because it has a navy attached to it. So it can go right across the Black Sea into Turkey. So, that's the breakdown of the countries. Now, an important thing to note is that you cannot take the executive control point without at least one other control point. Things like Here, the Gulf states, they have 2, so you can't take them. There's a couple that only have. Palestine only has 1 control point, so you can only do it for the executive. But Russia has 4, so you have to get at least 1, and you go left to right. So the first one you're going to take over is always going to be National Industries, unless National Industries, or control point number 4, has already been taken over by another faction. And then once you do that, you can move over toward executive. So right now, no one else can get into Kazakhstan without taking me out first, because they can't just take the executive. However, if someone already has a control point, you can do an individual purge and choose which control point you want to purge, like that. So that's an important distinction. So we're going to let this rest of this turn play out. It's going to be 1 week, so now it's October 8th, and now we have the event summary. I have it to where it's automatically set up to open, but if not, you can just click this button right here, and it'll pop out automatically. So this is all the events that happened. So we researched, so we got an objective to research alien signatures, we completed the investigate alien craft objective, we went and talked to the members of the UN, stuff like that. These are specifically counselors. So, my counselor here was detected by another faction that we don't know of in the Vladivostok region. They were probably also investigating the crash, and that's how they saw them. And we found an operative in Italy and one in Rwanda, Burundi. So you click on this, you can go straight to there, and close it. Boom, there's that enemy operative. We also encountered the initiative. If you click that, it opens up the intel screen, and now we can see the initiative. We don't know their counselors, which makes sense. We do know their resources, which is kind of weird, but I guess it's just things that you would know as a shadow government. I'm not entirely sure. Don't know their objectives yet. Their relations with everyone here. Their tolerance with everyone, which means they're not going to go out of their way to attack you, but they're also not going to give you good stuff. Except for the resistance. Something happened between the resistance, and they're in conflict with the aliens, the protectorate, the servants, but not the initiative, even though the initiative is in conflict with the resistance, which is interesting. You can see what texts they're going to research once you know more about them. If you hold shift and click a tab, they all change to that, which is super helpful, because that way you know what's going on. So they're currently losing money. They're gaining ops, which is important to know, gaining a little bit of boost. They've used 18 CP, or control points, and then they don't have any sort of space income, which makes sense. They shouldn't have that. You can also see the other ones, so we don't know anything about them, but we do know that the Protectorate controls 14 CP, the Academy controls 31, the Servants control 14, and neither the Resistance nor Project Exodus control any. We don't know who controls the faction. We know that the initiative has Chairman Soren, because he's reached out to us. And if you were playing as another faction, you would see that Hans Castillo, which we can't actually see here, which is kind of weird, would control humanity at first, but my lore is that instead of whoever was supposed to control it, you now control the faction, like an alternate timeline type of deal, and that the guy who was supposed to control it is now your second in command, because he was a third runner-up, or however you want to look at it. But now, we're going to look at, so this is all the events on Earth. So these will have all the aliens on Earth for that. This will be everything in space. Project Exodus controls the station in low Earth orbits, and so does the Academy. The Academy controls the ISS, and then Project Exodus controls the Tianzang, or Tiangong station. I probably butchered that. I believe it's Chinese or Taiwanese. But they control that. It currently has just the platform core onto it. This one, the ISS, has a space science lab and 2 solar collectors. We'll get into that in a moment once we actually start putting things up. And you can actually look at them. They're actually modeled space stations, which is super cool. You can see the individual components in the thing. In that same vein, if you zoom out, because we're playing on the max solar system, so everything in our solar system above a large asteroid is here. And you can go to each one of these things. So you can see the orbits. So there's nothing in the orbits right now that you can sell. You can see the altitude of the orbits. You can see how much antimatter it's going to produce, which is weird because we don't actually know about antimatter yet. You can see all the moons, how many bases they can support. You can see the speed that rocket must attain to leave the planet, which is important because if you go to that planet and then you don't have enough KPS to get out, how many delta V or KPS to get out, then you're stuck on that planet. It takes how long it takes to traverse the solar system, how far away it is from the center of the solar system, the diameter of whatever the celestial body is. And then if you scroll in, you will scroll in on whatever you have selected. So with Jupiter right now, this random asteroid, you can see here, Earth, Mars. If you zoom into Earth, you can see the moon. So all super cool stuff. But also not super important right now. We don't have anything in space. Again, double-click your operator, or once we get armies under our control, you can double-click them. Halves you can double-click as well. It'll take you directly to that location. So keep in mind, if the game is running, it will take you to where it was when you double-click them, not where they're going to be at the end of it. But once you get zoomed in like this, your view moves with the Earth, so you're not going to miss it. That's what I'm trying to say. If you zoom out, you do see the Earth move independently of the camera, which is pretty interesting. But now it's time to choose our next missions. So Darren can only do Control Nation, Advise, and go to ground. So we'll have him come here and advise, because there's nothing else for him to do. And at least advise will give him 1 influence. And he only gives him 1 influence because there's a guaranteed success chance. You can't fail an advise mission. It's just not how the game works. So you only get 1 influence. Which is kind of annoying for leveling up your advisor-specific counselors, because it takes 20 missions instead of just 10 to get a new attribute on him. So we'll have him advise. He's going to increase the nation based on his attributes. For every administration, he will increase the amount of investment points by that percentage. Every science will increase the amount of science outputted per month by that percent as well. And then command will increase the apparent military by point whatever that percent is. So 0.0 in this case. If you had 3 command, it would be plus 0.3 to your military tech. So you'd be fighting as if you were a 3.6 if you had a 0.3 in this case. Angurad, we're going to go in Control Nation again. 79% chance as well. And then Alexei, we're going to go and do a public campaign in Canada, because this is how we're going to get onto the North American continent. We currently cannot do anything with our counselors. We have 18, 2, and 2. We cannot recruit anymore because we don't have enough influence. So now that that's set, we're going to go back, start the next one. Now we've met Project Exodus with Director Khalid Al-Ashkar. So we can go over here to our intel, and now we can see what they're doing. So they have a minus to their water and their volatiles because they're trying to maintain a platform up in low Earth orbit, which means we have to ship up water and volatiles to maintain that. They also currently already have 2 engineering points, same as the initiative, which that means that they can do, wrong tab, another engineering project. Though the fact that you don't have any research per month at the moment means it's not super vital, so you don't need to worry about that. So now humanity has realized that aliens are in the solar system. All nations are going to gain 1 cohesion. So now we went from a 3.1 up to a 4.1. And that's going to mean that our unrest is going to go down because we have a higher cohesion. And I can't move my mouse, but if you look at that, you can see what's going to affect cohesion. Unrest. Or really whatever you're mousing over. So the base unrest for every nation is 10.5. It will be reduced by the cohesion number as well as the per capita GDP. So right now we have a 4.1 cohesion and however they calculate per capita GDP number of a 2.7, which means it's going to reduce the standing unrest to a 3.7. which means that since we have a 4.25 unrest, it's going to automatically reduce that number per month until it reaches 3.7, or whatever the standing rest is at that time. Lower, you can see what's affecting it. So right now, nothing is affecting the unrest except for movement towards rest value, which is always going to happen. Sometimes it's 0, sometimes in this case it's 0.25. If you have a cohesion of a non-low number, which I believe is below a 2, then it's going to change per month by 0.25. If you have a low number, it's going to increase. If you have 0 cohesion, it's going to increase by 0.5 per month. And you can see everything that's going to affect it. It's broken down by what affected it this month, affected it last month. So you can see the change if you had moved your pips around, or your priorities is what the game calls them. But they're these things right here. I call them pips. I think it's a holdover from another game. I really can't remember. So if you change those around, you can see if is it actually working, how is it affecting it now, because it kind of convoluted the way it all works together. So I'm really glad that they had added this in the new update. And then you can see the effect of it all time, which is not super important in my opinion, but it is cool to look at. And then now you can see your advise mission. It goes off immediately because you're going to be advising them for the entire month. So, like I said, we have 8 science and 5 admin, so it's going to be increasing the monthly output by that percentage point. So we're going to do repeat and continue, which means that it's automatically going to go, okay, Darren is going to do an advise mission next month, so I don't have to pick that for him. It's also going to start the thing again. So it's going to go until we have the next amount, which is our public campaign mission by Alexei. So from here you can see he's increased our public support in Canada for Humanity First by 5%. It's now going to stand at a 9. This will not change to reflect other counselors doing the same thing. That will, so if I'm doing a public campaign in Canada, and so is the initiative, and mine goes off first, we're at a 9, and the initiative goes off, it's going to reduce it to like a 8 or a 7 maybe. So always check if you think someone else is running campaign missions. You can see who the counselor was, what they did, where it was in, the exact province that it's in, the success chance. So he had a 96% chance to not mess it up, and he rolled an 8%, which means it was a critical success. So the roll number is what they actually, so they rolls a dice, basically a D100. If it's below your success chance, you succeed. If it's within the bottom 10%, then it's a critical success, which means that you do better than the normal amount. If it's within, so if you get above that number, it's a fail. If you get within the top 10%, it's a critical fail, which means that it's going to do, in this case, it might steer support away from Humanity First towards the other factions, which basically means that Alexei would have done so poorly, people go, oh, these are a bunch of lunatics. I don't want to be anywhere near them. If it's a regular fail, then just nothing happens. You just don't do what you want. It was like if you did a speech and it was just meh. I don't have one way over the other towards you, but I don't hate you either. So we're also going to have him repeat and continue because a higher public support means it's going to be easier to roll for control missions. Also, critical failures are important because if you have someone like, we'll get to that in a moment, so we're going to minimize it. Someone like, none of us. So if you have a demanding counselor, we'll see if we can't find him again. So yeah, demanding, if it's a critical failure, then he's going to lose 1 loyalty because he thinks your faction is full of incompetent morons. So that's important to know. He's actually not bad. Too bad we already have someone that fills his role. But anyhow, back to the thing. You can now take this back. So we controlled both points in Kazakhstan, which means once you can, we have full control over it. So we can choose both pips. So if you have something here and you want to copy it, click that one, and every single control point that you control will change to exactly what you have here. But you can still, so if let's say this one here, I don't really want to have this much funding, so we're going to reduce that, which means it's going to play around with the percentage points of each one. So because what it does is that each one of these control points, so we have the oligarchs and the executive, they all have 100%, and it's going to divide each one of these by that amount. So here we have, so this number here is the total percentage combined. So if we remove our economy pip, it's going to increase the percentage point of allocation that the rest of these get, which is very minor because it only decreases it by 2%. And then combined, they're going to add up to this. So if you have multiple factions in the same country, they're going to have different priorities. So it's going to throw things out of whack. You can also click on this to see how much of your investment points are going into this per month. So 0.8 investment points. That means this number here is going to increase by 0.8 by the end of the month. 1.2, 1.3, etc. You can see the bonuses. So we have currently have an 11% bonus to our boost investment points. So whatever our investment point should be is being increased by 11%, which will change to reflect the advised mission done by Darren. So I like having this percentage here, but we'll continue on with the next, with the rest of it, which shouldn't be too long because, again, Control Nation takes the longest. We'll go back here. This is what I like the most because you can see if your counselors have been detected, which means do you need to go and put them to ground or be wary of a counselor being assassinated. Campaign here, 74% chance, but we have a 62% chance for Control Nation with Alexei. So we're going to swap him off, and then we're going to do here, we're going to increase, we'll increase it by 10. So we're going to bump it up to an 80% chance to increase more public support. Look back over here, again, because he's doing an advised mission, which is a 100% guarantee to go off properly, he does not gain 2 XP, only 1. So next turn, he will get the chance to upgrade his attributes. So looking at some of these, not the greatest. We already have advised, we don't really need that. Engineering could be cool. So we'll take this and we'll slap him on. So now we have an engineering slot, which means when we go to, wrong tab, here, we can now take 2 things. So we can work on audience research as well as alien signatures if we were so inclined. We're not, because we don't have enough monthly income to do that. And then now, what this does is that every time we get more of this COGS, which is your engineering points, I call them, you'll have a plus 5% increase to the research in the engineering projects per engineering point. I don't believe they have a fall-off point. So things like this have a fall-off point at 50%. Once you get to 50%, it's going to give you diminishing returns. So you could have 10 plus 15% bonuses, but it's not going to be 150%. It's going to be somewhere around 100, or whatever the fall-off rate is. I'm not entirely sure about it. Which just makes sure that you can't scale out of control. Because like you can see here, I already have a 15% bonus right out of the gate towards this. So I could easily rack those up. Xenology is different. So we get a plus 1% because we have investigated the alien activity. So every one alien activity you investigate, you get a plus 1 bonus to that, on top of whatever you get from your hab modules, so your research stations, or your organizations, stuff like that. Or if you have a counselor that gives a bonus to that, that'll also change. So we have confirmed our assignments, so we're going to go on, and we're going to, so you could tell there we couldn't click the repeat and continue because we don't have enough influence to have done that. We'll have enough by the end of the turn, so we can do it then, but right now we didn't have enough money to do that. Another thing to note is that if you don't have any money, then you can't repeat things like public campaigns or control nations, even if you weren't using money to boost it anyways. So he had a regular, she, Engered, got a 1% increase because she only got a regular success. And because things are going so fast in the early game, you're not going to do as much as you would normally. So later on, we will get a pop-up that says that instead of 1 week, it's going to take 2 weeks to complete your missions. And you're going to have a larger increase in what you're doing because you've done it for longer. So your reduce or increase on rest won't be 0.25 anymore, they'll be 0.5s. Your public campaign won't be 1%, it'll have a 4%, something like that maybe. I don't know how that works. So we completed our Alien Signatures project. We get speaking from Mr. Hans Garcia. That's Mr. Hans right there. And now we can we have a new objective, and now we can choose whatever we want to do here. Whenever we research the Global Tech Deep System Skywatch, we're going to be able to do the next parts of Alien Origin. We can't do that research yet. We don't know where the aliens are, so we have no idea about their origins. So we'll close that. Another one is to salvage alien technology. We're way away from that, and now we have a chance of doing something else. So we'll knock this down and bump that up because I don't really care about these. We might give them more, or we can just reduce this. So once you have more selected, you can have none of your research go into commercial in this case, which is what we're probably going to do because I don't really care about commercial. So we'll drop these down to we're doing 50% into each of them and carry on with our day. So we got another control point here. Now it's increased or automatically gone onto saving, which we don't really need because Canada's not in a bad spot. 3.3 is pretty good for your inequality. So we're going to put you on a sustain. Notice that we still have 2 pips into welfare, which is going to automatically decrease our inequality anyways. So we're going to do a repeat and continue because we want him to do that some more. And now we're just waiting for us to get all 3. And we're going to move into Mexico, and we're going to move into the U.S. Because you get a bonus, as you can see here. You get a bonus, there, now you can see better, of having control points in neighbors. So it just, like, if you have a communist neighbor country, you're more likely to have communists in your country. It's just a sharing of ideas, kind of like that. Should have a 0% chance, mostly because his persuasion is awful, but oh well. So we're gonna have him. We'll have him just roll 6% chances of doing this. If we win, that's cool. If not, then oh well. We haven't really wasted anything. He's still getting 1 XP per turn because he hasn't actually completed anything, which is the same thing if he had done advise. Now we have encountered the resistance along with the commander Fiona Ayodada. We're going to be buddy-buddy with the resistance. We kind of have the same goals. Humanity first wants to kill every single alien out there. The resistance just doesn't want them on Earth. But they are going to be fighting the aliens along with us. We'll be buddy-buddy with them. We'll give them some things, make they'll like us some more, and then we'll have a non-aggression pact with them, which means they won't actively harm us. We completed a mission to space. The Academy has contributed the most research, so they have selected outpost tabs afterwards. We now get Director Khalid to give us his quote. I'll have a little bit of background on him. So he gave this to the first conclave of Muslim astrophysicists, which is a little bit interesting backside. This is more of a technical lore behind it. And then now you can see that you can now research these things here. If you have prerequisites you haven't met before, or yet rather, then you still can't research them, but this is no longer a barrier to those, is what it's saying. And now you can see also what engineering projects that we have a chance of unlocking. Hab Quarters, which is the basic one, has a 100% chance of unlocking. So we don't need to worry about that. We now have 2 control points here in Canada, and now we have detected an alien fleet. Right now, all they're doing is surveilling the Earth from low Earth orbit. We'll get into this a little bit more, but this is how the aliens do things. They have to have a certain amount of surveillance, and it gives them a bonus to their own objectives. Just like you, the player, the alien faction, as well as the other human AI factions, have a percentage chance of succeeding or failing. And that's all based on certain things. That same thing that would affect a human player affects the AI player, which I like a lot. So they need to have surveillance missions to do their stuff. The servants contribute most to Skywatch, so now we're doing advanced electromagnetism. We failed the mission, which I'm not surprised about. He had an 8% chance of succeeding, which is basically nothing. And now you can see what's going on here. So we have now lost the lead in here, which is fine. I'm just doing this because no one else was. So in a bit, the Protectorate is going to have a higher contribution score to this tech. We're still at 63% right now because we still have the most, but eventually we're going to have the least, or not the least, but not the most. This shows you here who has the most. Obviously, tells you how much you've contributed to this one. Not sure why it has both of them. It's kind of redundant. And this is how much. If things stay stable for the rest of eternity, we're going to finish this research by this date. Now, if I could go down, it's changed, so it reflects that a little bit. So it's and now you can go to Archives. We can see that Skywatch and Mission to Space have both been done. And now you can see your event modifiers have changed. Because of Skywatch, we can now see all the factions, all the aliens between here, Earth, and Saturn. We can now detect aliens on Earth. That was due to alien signatures. So now we are back to here. We can't quite contact him because we still only have 10. We don't have 10 influence, so we're using most of it on Alexei because he's more important. We'll move over here to Mexico. Roll a 3%. Met the Academy. They're one of the harder ones to play, as we'll see in a bit. But now we've met the Academy. They want to be friends with the aliens. They want to prove that we are equal and that you don't need to do what you're doing. Project Exodus wants to just dip. They're like, screw that noise. I don't want to deal with you. So they're going to find a new planet to live on. The Initiative just wants to make money. Resistance, like I said, wants to resist the aliens. They don't want them on Earth. They don't really care about them outside of our solar system, though. And we have not met the Protectorate or the Servants yet. Quick, before he does his thing, we're going to give him a Persuasion. Because he has not completed his turn yet, this is still going to affect him. So instead of having a 3, he now has a 4 Persuasion, which increases him from a 3% chance to a 5% chance. Very little change, but it is something. And now for our last scheduled startup event. This is our advisory team. So this is going to give you a bonus to certain priorities. So focus on economic development will give you a 10% increase to economy. Spaceflight and boost are going to get a 5% increase if you choose steely-eyed missile women and men. Calling the generals will give you a boost to military and build armies. And the international aid will give you a boost to welfare and knowledge. We're going to go for the spaceflight and boost increase, just because that's what we're going to be using the most at the playthrough. Now we have all 3. So we control the entire nation. Now we're waiting for this timer to tick down. This is your consolidation timer. So the game says that after 180 days have passed, you have consolidated control over the nation, and everyone goes, okay, they're supposed to be here. We're chill with that now. And then you can start doing some things. Right now, you can't do a whole lot besides do foreign relations. But later on, you'll be able to do policies here. So you can declare wars, end wars, disband military units of your country, disband nuclear weapons of your country. You can federate or unionize with other countries to combine yourselves, stuff like that. But that's, again, have to wait for that 180-day period to run out. So we spotted a resistance counselor in Chile. We encountered the Academy. We found some counselors we don't know of in Turkey. And none of our counselors got spotted. Or the one from before, so Darren might have just been stayed spotted the entire time. It does not tell you if you have dropped off the enemy faction's radars, which makes sense. How would you know if you have done that? So now we're going to choose the rest of our counselors, and we're going to end it off here for this episode. We've gone through the basics of the game, how to play the game, and the first couple turns, and that'll be the end of episode 1. Thank you all for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one after I finish this up. So we're going to go and contact the resistance with our counselor here, and then we're going to go and do a public campaign. We'll do a control mission. I don't know, too low for me, my taste. We'll do a public campaign here in Mexico. Check our counselors again. Nothing we can do here, because White Heat has quick learner. You still need 16 to do anything important. I don't really care about affluent. It's just 1 money per month. Not super important. So like I said, I'm going to stop it here, and I will